on YouTube. And we start right now. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Today we are talking about a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, right? And this sort of opposes the idea that we have that it's encoded inside us that says, get rid of all feelings and all situations that are uncomfortable. And a crisis is one of those, right? And so hardwired in our brain, there is a force really hard to oppose to that says, okay, we really need to do something different. We really need to get out of here because this is really uncomfortable and this is danger. But in reality, there's another view for it. And if this has been you, if you've been in a messy situation and chaos and a transition and big changes in your life, if you're just at the beginning of it or scared because it's about to happen, or you're in the middle of it or at the end of it, you're not going to believe, like, this is the perfect day to do a video for me because I am sort of at the end of it and in the middle of it, and I'm going through a big change and transition that has gone through my relationship, that has gone through my work, my business as I know it, and has gone through my relationship with my parents. My mom is going through a big illness, and my dad is also going through important things, health-wise and financial-wise. And so there's a lot of things happening in my life right now. And today, when I was about to do this video, I was thinking to myself, can you really show up and do this video? And then I thought, no, this is the perfect moment to show up, because everything that I will be telling you today would be really coming through my heart and my experience. And there's one thing to know something intellectually, and there's another thing to really be confronted by all those limiting beliefs that are connected to your unresolved childhood memories that show up in situations of change, in situations of crisis. And so it's easy to say when you're not there and support another person. It's also very challenging to do it when you're there. And so let's break this down and talk about it more deeply, okay? One thing that's happening when a crisis knocks at your door is the way that life has to push you to places where you're going to learn something that you haven't learned up to this moment. Yeah. And it's very easy for us to get distracted with the pain and our desire to run away from the pain, because it is hurtful. The uncomfortableness and the uncertainty, the feeling out of control, it's really hurtful for us, and we want to get away from it. That dynamic in our brain, in and of itself, already makes us very distracted from something else that might be coming through with that crisis, right? With that mess, with that chaos, okay? That's one thing. So the idea that we need to get rid of the uncomfortableness and get away from the pain might get us really distracted. Number two is that we might be going through this crisis with a level of blame, shame, or victimhood. And if we are in any of those levels where there's something that at the core of our suffering from this change, we believe, in whatever percentage that is, we believe that there's something wrong with us and that we made a mistake and that we didn't, acted right, chose right, or we did something really bad, or something that's really inherently bad with ourselves, then that feeling in a sleep person that's not really looking at what's underneath that can be also very distracting. Meaning what that person is going to do is feel very alarmed, and it's either going to shut down meaning I'm going to hide this as much as possible because I cannot show up through life telling people how bad I really am, right? Or I'm going to overly express and react in desperation because I can certainly not do this on my own. And so I'm going to go out there and beg and tell everyone this is really bad and this is something really bad is happening. So this is obviously unconscious, right? If you are unconscious, so you're going to highlight your victimhood and the desperation that you feel and the blame and then the shame and then the guilt, right? You can also be blaming other people. It's the same thing, it's the same group, right? Or you're going to completely suppress and nobody notices, right? And the thing about this, though, the suppressing one can be very tricky because in that suppression, what's happening is that you are connecting with a part of you that is responding to prior trauma, right? That has gotten used to, before you had language, to do things independently on your own and not have to connect to other people, meaning you've never had good results when asking caregivers or other people to help you. And so your biggest fear is to have to go through that again and feel some sort of resistance to that, right? Because you're going to feel rejection. And so that's going to touch that primary wound. And so you rather stay suppressed and calm. This is, again, all very unconscious. And so while the crisis is hitting you, things are happening, an earthquake of emotions or transitions, or you're not, you can't handle your job, or they fire you, or somebody die, or something like that. While the crisis is hitting you, you might get praised by the attitude of calmness, of, oh wow, look at her, how well she can handle it, right? But what's happening underneath it all is that you're not necessarily handling it, you are suppressing it. And so how do you know when you are suppressing it or when you're handling it? Okay. Here is this differentiation, it's very important because it can place you at where you at in the circumstances and how much possibility of growth do you have in front of this crisis that it's in front of you, right? So you are suppressing if you feel a big sense of fear in the idea of putting yourself vulnerable out there. That means asking for help, saying some sort of truth. A lot of times it feels like you're kind of hiding a secret, right? And you rather keep that secret. And there's a sensation of, if I can solve this on my own, right? Nobody can have to know how bad it got. Yeah, people can just see what's happening crisis-wise. That's not my fault. But whatever is happening here, hidden here, there's such a shame in it that people don't really have to know how bad it is. And so those are 3 signs that you're suppressing it and you're not processing it, right? When you are processing it, if you are really processing it, you wouldn't have any self-limitation or any fear around processing it with other people, meaning self-regulating yourself with other people or self-regulating yourself in front of other people, and talking about with transparency of what's happening. Okay, so let's summarize, right? We went through, first thing is the distraction of trying to run away from the pain. Second thing is that when we aren't really awakened enough to see and ask, what's this crisis bringing me and how can I learn and grow from it, then we are either suppressing our emotions and not being able to manage them or process them or regulate ourselves emotionally, or we are overly desperate with the emotions of victimization that connect with I don't trust myself. And so I cannot go and do this on my own. Okay, so that's step two. Oh, step two, no, is like the second thing that it can distract us. But when those things are not distracting us, they might be present, right? Meaning you might feel like you have a temptation to suppress it, or you feel you have a temptation to numb it, or you feel you have a temptation to victimize somebody else or yourself. You might see those things there, but yet you're still very aware in the moment. As you are feeling all of those emotions, there's still a capability inside of you that can process a bigger range of emotions and at the same time make conscious decisions. And that is where we want to arrive. That is when we want to arrive. And it's a place of very personalized for each and every one of us, because it counts with a lot of other things that are happening in your life, your personality, your culture, your family history, and a lot of other things. But the dance between I can consciously see what I've created, what's happening, and at the same time I'm processing all my emotions, and I take a break from this so that I can process more here, and then I already processed this and I'm going to make another decision here. That's a whole choreography, a whole dance that is possible in front of crisis. And that is what we don't want to waste, right? Because if we never get to see that, we're pretty much wasting the crisis, right? At this point, we know that crises are not just like even if it's the pandemic, right? It's not just an outer occurrence that happened without us being involved. No, not at all. Not at all. Even when things feel like they came out of the blue and like you never saw it coming, especially those ones are the ones that you really want to look through. Because we are beings that we are supremely interconnected into a magnetic field, and we live within, in, and as in that whole intelligence that is in this planet and this universe. Meaning, nothing happens without us in mind, right? Nothing happens without us in mind. Everything is a reflection, not our fault, but everything is a reflection of what something is already in us. Everything is a reflection of something that's already in us. And only until we're willing to see that can we take advantage of the lesson that a crisis has come to gift us, right? Only until we see that, we can then turn into all those roles and characters that people are playing in this crisis and see them as teachers. I know this is hard. I know this is challenging. Tell me. Okay, I really before I got here into this camera today, it's like 10:18 where I'm at in the morning, and I've been crying for like the last 2 hours, hence my eyes, right? But it's part of processing those emotions that are coming up, right? It's part of expanding that view and really asking myself throughout the whole journey, like you never stop asking. You never really stop asking. You're always asking, what quality is trying to emerge through this situation? What quality in me is trying to emerge through this situation? What version of me does not longer serve me that this situation is trying to peel off from me, right? What layer of me no longer can pass through this crisis until the next level, until whatever it's out after this crisis, right? There's always something that a crisis has come to clean you off, right? And the only way we can let those layers go is if we are aware and standing there and asking those questions and saying, okay, is it this? Is it that? Let me journal about it. Let me talk about it. Let me go inward about it. Because the moment you see what's happening outside and in whatever that means to you as something that is co-creating with you, right? Because the universe is always for you, never against you. Yeah, never against you. And so if the universe is always for me, there is a way to understand this crisis as a way for it to be for me. And it might not be right now that I understand it, right? It might not be something I can handle right now, but it might be something I can handle later through in retrospect, in reflection, right? How many of us are able to look at the pandemic right now and see so many of its teachings, right? Much more clear than when we were in it, right? So when we are in it, because it feels like you are in a whole storm and you can't really see through and you can't really it's everything is just so confusing because there's so many emotions bottling up. It's so many things that we feel afraid, scared of, or out of control. What's the best thing to do in that moment? What's the best thing that has worked for you during your crisis, like during the times where you've had deep chaos in your life? So the best things that you can do is to trust, like let yourself go and don't make strong decisions until you can really see better, right? Until you can really see better. Because once the grief is, there's always grief in crisis, right? And so once the grief is coming up, the grief is not going to let you make good decisions, right? Or align decisions. Or it's not going to let you always see what's aligned for you and what's happening outside. And so that's why I was saying it's a dance, right? Because then you receive some of that grief and then you process it, and then that gives you a little bit more of awareness, and then you might move things around, and then you self-regulate yourself, and then you go through another deep wave of grief, and then you wake up again, right, from that level of grief, and then you're able to do something, but your energy is low because you are in a moment of deep, a key moment of evolution, right? Crises come to reminds us, hey, the evolution path is that way. It's really that way. It's kind of like something that it has to be forced on us, because otherwise, by our own terms, we won't ever make those steps. Yeah. So we never would make those steps because we're, for whatever reason, because we can't see it, because we're comfortable where we're at, right? Because the uncertainty doesn't let us, and we're so scared. We need to have something secure before we move to different places, because of depending on how big or small is our trauma and how we're responding to that trauma. So we won't really make those steps on our own. And so crisis is our friend, right? That comes along and says, hey, you really need to move that way. It's that way. Make a right. You really need to move that way. And in order for me to make you move that way, I'm going to have to fill in the blank, right? I'm going to have to move things around, fire you from your job, I don't know, whatever it is, the crisis that you're going through. So this is a really important video to, if you are going through a really hard time right now, and if you are going through a messy situation, one of the things that can help you a lot is to figure out what would be the best way for you to regulate consistently the feelings and your participation in the mundane world while the crisis is happening? How can I regulate myself that is not an addictive behavior and that is not a numbing behavior, right? For some people, that is creating an important routine of exercises and grounding yourself in like the structure of meditating and having your morning routine. For other people, it's about interrelation and regulating yourself with nature, with a pet, with friends, a group of friends, with community, with family members, with whatever it is. But make sure that you build that web that is going to keep you self-regulated. What I mean by self-regulated is that the crisis is hitting you in your nervous system in a way where your nervous system is not working properly, because your nervous system is going danger, 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 right? So it's like, let's say the example of you being fired from your job. Yeah. You're being fired from your job. Well, your nervous system sees it as this is big danger because we're out of the clan, right? Remember, our brain, it's always helping us survive and live longer. How? By making danger being something that you're doing new, or something that where you don't feel that you belong, where you're not, you get rejected of some sort. And so that might have been the best thing that ever happened, but it doesn't feel like that in your body because your nervous system has fired the alarm off saying this is a really dangerous situation. And we live in this avatar, we live in this body. So when our nervous system is in that alarm with that, firing that alarm off, and we don't know how to turn it off, we don't know how to shut it down, we don't know how to bring ourselves back to our neutral, healthy, thriving place, then we're always going to be in control of our nervous system, meaning we're always going to act according to what our nervous system is telling us, right? Because we won't have energy. We'll have that sensation in our stomach or whatever it comes up for you in our throat, where we're scared, where we're like, oh my God, this is really happening. It's either that or we are in freeze mode, right? And so it's really important for us to make sure we take care of our nervous system and we look into our subconscious beliefs, our limiting beliefs that are connected to that firing up of that nervous system throughout crisis, right? The crisis has a big, big purpose, and see it as like a bus that's come along. And we're actually lucky that the bus is here, because if we really trust, right, we know that this has come to always bring us to a better version of ourselves, right? I'm not saying we can stand in that assertiveness throughout the whole process 100%, but it takes practice, and we do have a lot of crises throughout our whole life to practice with. And so if you could get to that point, and if you can't have people or create a web around you that can help you be as much as possible in that point, then, you're more able to let the crisis teach you and let you know what is it that needs to happen here. And little by little, you'll get the signals, you'll get the signs, but we can only hear it if we're open to it, right? We can only hear it if we are really wanting to hear it. If we are closed out to it and we're just blaming, shaming, or feeling guilty about something, chances are is that we're not really going to hear it. We're not really going to hear the little voices that are telling us to move here or there. And we're never really going to grasp, not never, but we're not going to grasp, as long as we are closed out, to the message that's coming underneath the crisis, right? What is it that's actually this crisis is for? No. Every single crisis is calling forth a new quality in you. What is that quality? What is it? Is it calling for me to be more vulnerable? Is it calling for me to be more patient, more tolerant? Is it just calling for me to really say yes to me, to say yes to not betray myself anymore? Like, what is the quality? Because that's the intention of the crisis. That's the intention of the chaos, to reassess and regroup so that you can really be guided through a new path that on your own you would have never been able to take before this moment. Yeah. Well, my invitation is to observe ourselves. This is not an easy process. It requires a lot of courage. It requires a lot of openness. It requires a lot of vulnerability. And it's not easy. It really isn't easy. But just know that you're not by yourself. You're not on your own, and that you're supported. Okay? Sending you all hugs and kisses. So again, 10 a.m. every Monday, Beneath the Surface. I'm here live on Instagram, but you can see the recording on YouTube. Okay. Then also Luna membership. You can come in and always have a masterclass with me, an energy circle with me, and mini sessions called healing sessions, where we do like mini coachings and get together as a community. I also have Conscious Woman Roadmap, my 90-day program. Coaching for 90 days for you to rewire your limiting beliefs, connect with your intuition, and really, really get more in touch and aligned with your full potential. So the doors for that is going to be open up September. Sign up for my newsletter and get all the little masterclasses and classes that I am offering throughout the month. I love seeing you here. Subscribe, hit the bell so that you can always get into the community and build this place together where we can support each other. Sending hugs, and don't waste that crisis. Don't waste it. Take care.